All right, welcome back everybody. What I want to do with this video is kind of put out a little preemptive notice on what we're going to be looking at this weekend, just to give everyone an opportunity to go do a little bit of review. So when we start putting these chords together on the keyboard, your ear will kind of be able to pick up some of that information a little bit more easily. And what we're going to be looking at this week is the Mixolydian mode. Now we've done quite a few videos on that, and I'm going to leave the links down below so you can go do some review. But we never really got to the keyboard with it, right? It was more of a lesson from a structural perspective and talking about the chords, things along those lines. And so this week we're obviously going to be, generating the sounds of Mixolydian so we can really train the ear to hear it. Now, with Mixolydian, obviously it has the word Lydian in it, so therefore we know it's a major mode. And with that, we are going to be comparing C Mixolydian with C Ionian, or C major, right? Major to major kind of comparison. Now, what really the fundamental component there is of Mixolydian is we have a flattened seventh. Okay. And what that gives us is we move from the B in C Ionian to the B flat in C Mixolydian, okay? And that has a few consequences. The first that we're going to be talking about, because the three major consequences are the third, the fifth, and the seventh. And what we're going to be talking about and listening to is that going from B to B flat creates a third that's diminished. In, C major, we have a third, which is E minor, but in C Mixolydian, we now have a E diminished, right? So that's gonna play a part. If you recall from some of the other videos that I've done on the modes, I did a 1, 2, 3 chord progression. We're kind of throwing the 5. So that's not gonna work, obviously. But what we do want to emphasize is that flattened seventh, right? So we're gonna get some B flat in there. Does that always mean the B flat chord? Not necessarily. And we also have an impact on the fifth, right? In C major, the fifth is our G major, but in C Mixolydian, it's going to be G minor. And then of course our B flat, we just moved our seventh from B diminished to a B flat major. So that's going to be big. And the component here is we always talk about resolution back to our tonic, right? That's our big thing in music, coming back home. And with Mixolydian, since we've moved from a leading tone, which is just one fret, right, from B to C, it's a half step. We've now moved that into a perspective of a whole step, from B flat to C, right? So we got 2 frets in there. And what that does is it kind of weakens the resolution back to our tonic. For a couple things. Our dominant chord just went from a major to a minor. That's going to be interesting to get back home. And furthermore, our seventh, which was a leading tone, which was 1 fret half step, now is 2 frets away. Right now it's a whole step. So that's going to be a weaker resolution as well. So what we look at when we talk about Mixolydian is coming back to our tonic has that's just going to be a different tactical situation on how we put our chords together. And so that's what we're going to be looking at when we actually get the sounds of Mixolydian kind of going on the keyboard this week. So with that, I'm going to leave a link to some of the previous videos on Mixolydian, so you can just go take a quick review, kind of talk about what I'm talking about here. So in this weekend's video, we'll kind of skim over the review pretty quick. And when you're thinking about the Mixolydian, that strong resolution doesn't really come back. There's a few songs out there. Sweet Child of Mine, probably the most popular that people know. You'll notice in that song, the whole thing is this, it's this really powerful piece, but what they bring you back to isn't necessarily like a drop boom kind of coming back to a tonic. They keep bringing you back to that infamous riff that Slash has put together. And so it's it's one of those modes where it allows, you know, a really broad picture kind of concept in your music to really just, I'm not going to say free flow, but to some extent a little bit to free flow. And the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to leave 2 links down below to a couple of shorts. There's some of my favorite DJs, Lily Palmer and Miss Monique, and from these videos, they're not, neither one of those pieces of music or you know, kind of what they've done for their mixes is Mixolydian. That's not why I'm leaving the links down below for the comparison. But what I want your ear to kind of hear, regardless if you like EDM or not, you can obviously hear that drop. Lily Palmer has a much stronger, you know, very, very resound bam. And, you know, Miss Monique, she has, you know, for her pieces, it's a more tactical evolution. Now they're both wonderful, and Lily Palmer's amazing. I listen to these 2 all the time, but your ear will kind of pick up, you know, what's the difference between, you know, coming back to that hardcore bam versus kind of a build-up, a tactical build-up, if you will. And it's just, you know, it's just something for your ear to kind of listen to. Wonderful, both of them are wonderful DJs. So that's why I'm putting them down there. But anyways, kind of take a review when you get an opportunity. Again, I'll leave the link below for Mixolydian. Take a look at that. And so this week we can really focus in on playing the music and the sounds of Mixolydian, so you'll hear it a little bit better. So I wanted to just put this video out there really quick. Again, talk a little bit about review, kind of point you in the right direction to do some reviews. So this week we can really focus in on the music and the sounds of Mixolydian. So until then, I appreciate your time, everyone, and we will catch up with you this weekend. Take care.